Hello, Professor Toybox here along with Jesse, and today I'm going to start building Andy's room. But first, whenever I'm trying to recreate a setting from a movie or a TV show, I always like to have some screenshots handy that I can use as a guide. So here are some screenshots of Andy's room from the first Toy Story movie. This is the initial view of the room from the bed. There's a door on this wall with a crib to the left. The floor is a light-colored hardwood. There's also some wainscoting on the wall, and the wallpaper is a light blue with some clouds on it. Unfortunately, we don't have a texture like that wallpaper for the toy box blocks, so we'll have to come up with something else, but I'll talk about that later. Moving left around the room, we see a desk with a chair positioned under a window. There's also a corkboard on the left of the window, and a shelf on the wall to the right of the window. On the opposite wall, we have a dresser, a nightstand, and Andy's bed. There's a window next to the bed. There's also a door on this wall, and although we don't see it in this photo, we do see it in this one. That door would have to be to the left of the dresser in the previous photo. The last wall is the one that the bed is next to. There's a second window on this wall with a bookshelf under it containing some toys, games, and books. And finally, we have some crown molding around the top of the walls and a gray-colored ceiling. So this is what I want to build, and my goal today is to build the floor and the walls. Now to save time, I'm starting in an empty toy box, but I've already done a couple of things. I've already set the sky, as you can see, and I've placed a boom box. And if we look at the sky changer and open up the logic menu and look at the properties, the sky I'm using is Mickey's Bright Blue Sky, and you find that under the 3.0 category, Mickey's Bright Blue Sky. And if you don't have that, you just unlock it from the toy box. You don't need anything special for that. And then for the boom box, I've turned the music off. And so we can go ahead and delete the sky changer because we're done with that now. And as we look at the sky dome, I have chosen to make this side of the toy box my outdoor area, which means Andy's room is going to be facing that direction, towards the red windmill. And as we begin, I'm going to come up here above the terrain block, because we're not going to keep this terrain block. Oh yeah, I've got to upgrade Jesse. We're going to begin with this large floor, which is under the basic blocks category. And again, we're starting up a little ways above the terrain block there, because in a future video we're going to delete that. And I'm going to begin over here, kind of off to the right. Doesn't matter exactly where. Again, the red windmill's over that way. So we're going to drop that, and we'll go ahead and style it. And the style I'm using for this is plank. I'll set that to be my theme. And for me, the orientation of the boards, if you can see it, get down here where you can get a better look at it. The boards are running towards the windmill over there. And so you want to make sure the board is oriented that way. If you're looking at the board and the texture looks like that, you need to rotate it, because that's the way Andy's room is set up. The boards run that direction. Not that I suppose it matters, but I'm a stickler for detail. Alright, so now that we have our first block, we're going to run a row of 11 of these. So here's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And we need a total of 12 going that direction. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm going to go ahead and fill all of that in, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so there is the floor for Andy's room, and the red windmill is over there. The original terrain block we started with is over here. And again, this is 11 blocks in this direction and 12 in this direction. So that's the floor. Next, let's work on the baseboards, and we'll start in this corner over here. And this is going to be the corner where we've got a door on this wall and a door on this wall. And we're going to use this trim piece for the baseboards. And I'm going to put this halfway on the block like that. And let's go ahead and style this. And for this, we're going to go to the right from the planks. And I'm looking for the plastic 2 texture. And we got to go a little ways to get to that. Here we go. I'm going to set that to be my theme. Okay. And then we're going to skip. You notice I've got this right on top of that block. We're going to skip 3 blocks and go to this one. So the doorway is going to sit there. And then we're going to run these down along the floor like that. And then we're going to come across the other side of the room and do the exact same thing, except this is going to go all the way down because there's no door over here. And by overlapping the block, that means there's no gap underneath where you can see anything coming through. And now we have a little bit of a problem because we have that block overlapping. So for right now, I'm just going to set this back out over here like that. And then this one's going to sit where we expect it to sit. And this, we need 4 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And besides that corner one. And then we're going to skip 3. So 1, 2, 3. That means we got one here, got one here, and then we got the same problem as on the other side. So we'll move this block back for right now. And then we'll do that same thing on this side, but again, we have no door. So this block is going to sit over here. And you'll notice the left and right edges of this block are sitting right on the seams for the floor block right beneath it. Alright, so there are the baseboards. And what we're going to do for these corner blocks, there's a couple of different ways you could do this. Some people like drawing trigger areas here and trying to take advantage of the glitch that happens that allows you to overlap blocks. I find that's not very reliable. It doesn't work for me consistently. So what I'm going to do instead is use a path. So we're going to put this centered on this block and right on the edge of there, just like that. And we'll just drop a point right there. And the only path property that I care about, because we're not really going to use this as a path, I want to turn off auto start. Whoops, I didn't mean to pick that up. I'll replace it. Alright. Didn't want to exit Spark mode either. Okay, so then we'll come over to this block. New path connection. Connect it to that path. And the block snaps into place. And you're going to do that for that block over there and the other 2 on those corners. You're going to do the exact same thing. So snap it into place. Alright, so let's come back over here now to this doorway. And the next thing we'll work on is the wainscoting. So if we go back to the blocks drawer, for that we can use these block walls. So on the corner, we can use this block wall corner. And that's going to sit in here just like that. So it's right on the corner of the wood block down here, which means it's halfway on this block and it's halfway on this row of blocks. And that corner piece is going to determine the orientation of these block walls, because you can have it like this or you can have it like that, and you'll notice it doesn't line up directly, so it has to be lined up this way. And let me pull up my screen grab here. Yeah. All right, so we're going to put 2 of these down like this, and then we got to leave room for the door. And then we'll run just a row of these all the way down. Takes a little while to place all of these, but goes pretty quickly. Some of these don't want to flick. Trying to use the little trick that flicks the blocks, and that works with some blocks. It's not working with this one. All right, and then when we get to the end, we put in a block wall corner again. And again, make sure you line this up right, not that way, but that way. And then just run, well, this time it's working. Then just run all the way down. So again, I'm going to do this offline all the way around the perimeter of the room, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so here we are. I've run the boards all the way around the perimeter, and I've left room for the doorways here. And you can see I've also dropped the paths to place the blocks and set them in place there on the corners. And I did that on both sides. So now we're ready for the top of the wainscoting. And we're going to come over here to this corner again, where we started last time. And once again, we'll get back down to the blocks drawer. Sorry about that. I meant to do that offline before I started recording again. But we're going to line this up just like the one below, right on top. And this will be the top edge of the wainscoting. So this is the trim that goes along there. Like that. And again, we're overlapping that. And once again, we're going to run into the same problem here. So we'll fix that offline a little bit later. But you're going to basically do the exact same thing you did with the other 4 blocks down below. Put a little path in there, connect them to that path to snap them in place. And this one actually has to sit backward. So this one's got to sit in there like that. And you say, does it really matter which wall is the one with the corner piece that sits out? No, it doesn't. So if you really wanted to, you don't have to make this one be the one that's sticking out. You could make that one the one that's sticking out, but it's up to you. It's going to come out either way. Again, leave room for the door. And we'll put that one out there for right now. All right, so there's the top of the wainscoting. Now let's go ahead and frame in the doors. And for that, we're going to use some of the plain blocks. I would have loved to have a small square block that had that decorative edge like the we're using for the baseboard there, but we don't, so I got to use this one. So we're going to place one of these on either side of the door. And we're going to do the same thing on this door. This will be the bottom edge of the door frame. And then for the tall block, we're going to put 4 of these on top of each other. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And do the same thing on the other side. 2, 3, 4. And then we'll use this long block across the top for the top of the door frame. So there's the first door. That's where that goes. And the door on this corner, again, 4 blocks high. And the long block across the top. Like that. Alright, so those are the doorways for the entrance into the room and the closet. Alright, now if we're starting with the doors over there, if we come around this wall and then this wall, we have two windows on this particular wall. So let's go ahead and frame those in. So once again, we'll start with the tall block. We're going to come over here, and we're coming to this block here. So we're sitting on the third block over from the left. And for this, we're going to go up 3 high. And then we'll come over here and do another 3. And then we're going to put one of these and one of these. And you say, why don't you just use 2 of them like you did with the doorway across here? Well, I'm doing it this way because the wall, when we put that in, it's going to look a lot better if this top of the window frame is sitting down inside here versus up across here. And you'll see that when we get to that point here in a little bit. All right, so that's the first window. And then we have 1, 2, 3 blocks, 3 of those long blocks in between to the next window. And again, it's 2 blocks wide here. And for this one, I'm going to put the long block on that end. Kind of trying to tuck the smaller block into the corners of the room here, so it's not quite as noticeable. Alright, so there is that window. And then there's one window over on this wall above the desk. And that one is going to sit, see, there's 5 blocks here, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the 6th block over, we're on the edge of this block. And this window is the same size as the others. Okay, so there is that window. All right. Now, let's see, the next thing I think we will do is let's work on the walls. And this is going to be critical, that you get the orientation of these wall pieces correct. Because again, the wall can sit like this. Let's see, let's go ahead and put it in place. The wall can sit like that or like that. In this orientation, it's closer to the right edge of the block. In this orientation, it's closer to the left edge of the block. And we want this being closer to the left edge. And the reason is, on this side of the room we want that, is because we're going to be hanging things on this wall. And we're also going to be hanging things on the other wall. And so it's important that this is further away from the interior of the room, closer to the back edge of that block. If you put it on the other side, when you go to hang things on the wall, you're not going to be able to do it. And so there's nothing hanging on the wall over by those windows or over here on this wall or above the crib. So that's why this is important. So this piece sits in here like this, which means that when you put the wall on this side, it has to sit not like that. Notice there's that little gap in the corner. It's got to be this way. And in this orientation, it's closer to the right side of the block, the front of the block, the interior of the room. This orientation, it's further away. We want it to be over on this side. Now, before we place too many more of these, though, let's go ahead and set the style. And I know a lot of you weren't happy with my choice. Some of you were asking why I didn't make the room look like Andy's room. Well, the trouble is there's no style here that has blue with clouds on it. So you cannot make this look exactly like Andy's room as far as the wallpaper is concerned. However, there are a couple of choices. I used this stunt wood. I'll set that to be the theme for the moment. And this is what you saw in the playthrough video. And it works. It kind of looks like something that's on a boy's room. There's more white than blue, but it works. If you're not happy with that, the only other texture I found that has the closest shade of blue, if you go to the left, would be the Sleeping Beauty Riverbed. Let me set that to be my theme. And I'll go ahead and build this version of Andy's room with this texture so you can see the difference. And then you can look at the playthrough video. You can look at these videos here when we're doing the build and decide which one you like better. Or you can pick your own. But if you want to make it look like Andy's room, these are really your only two choices. So let's go ahead and set the theme on this one too. I'll apply that. There it goes. And this maybe looks a little bit closer than what I had to Andy's room. And if I had this to do over, I might actually choose this texture. Okay, we want to make sure this is oriented right. So we're going to put this above, and we're going to go one row above the door frame. So this is why the door frame works sitting up on the top there. And then you're going to fill in this entire wall with blocks with this texture, and you notice it comes right to the corner. And then when you get to this side of the room, again, you want to make sure that this one is facing this direction, not that direction. Otherwise you'll have a gap as you look through that corner. So this has to be over here like this. And you're going to fill in this whole side of the room. And this time you'll notice this is why we have the door frame down set inside of those other blocks and not resting on top of it. And again, you're going to do this all the way around the room, all the way up to the height there that we've got. When you get to this end, once again, make sure you're doing it this way. You're not going to be able to do it that way because you're going to collide. So this is going to go like this, and you're only going to go over 2. Okay? And then you're going to go up. We're leaving room for the cork board. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. And going around the room like this. And I'm leaving a hole for the cork board. We're going to put a bunch of little blocks along the base of here. And that cork board will sit inside there. And then once again, you're going to go up and around the window frame. You're going to fill in this whole wall. I'm going to do this offline. I'm just kind of working my way around the room to show you what you need to do. And again, make sure you're doing it this way, not that way. And this will come all the way over. And once again, you're going to go all the way up. And you can see how this all lines up nicely. You don't need any little blocks at all. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the wall and the holes here. And I will be back in just a moment. Okay, here we are. I have filled in all of the walls all the way around the room. And that's what we have. So this is what Andy's room would look like with the Sleeping Beauty riverbed texture. And it's got the right blue It's just with all of this detail on there, it looks way too fancy for a boy's room. Looks like some rich person's house or something. But it's another alternative, and you might like that a little better than the stars. And if you don't pay too much attention to the detail on the wall, that actually looks pretty good. And I kind of like that. All right, next thing we'll do are the doors. So let's go ahead and put those in. And grab my screenshots here. Make sure I do this right. Okay. So for the doors, we're going to take advantage of the flat blocks like we were doing on the walls. And the fact that you can orient these in a couple different ways. You can orient them like that. You can orient them like that. And we're going to use this orientation for the front of the door and something else for the other side. So we'll start with this piece in the corner, and you'll note it's rotated to overlap the floor block there. And we want to switch the texture back to the plastic 2. I'll set that to be the theme. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and run these up until we get to the top. And we'll do the same for the other side of the door. And then we're going to use this short block wall. And we're going to put a row of these across the bottom. And I'm framing in the door. The door has some little inset areas, so that's what I'm trying to mimic here. And then the next row is going to go up even with the bottom edge of this next block here. And the same thing, we're going to do this all the way up. Till we get to here. And this row will go all the way across. Like that. Okay? And we'll do the same thing on this wall. So again, make sure you're oriented this way, not that way. Row of these, oops, all the way across the top. Took a while to figure out all of the architecture here with the blocks and get this to look right. But you can actually do a lot with blocks. It's pretty amazing stuff. For those of you who have never been to Papa H's channel, I've got a link to it under my channels page. You should definitely go there and look at some of the stuff that guy builds with blocks. Just blows my mind. He's built spaceships. He built Galactus out of blocks. Just all kinds of really cool stuff. Alright, so there's the front part of the door. For the back part of the door, we're going to use the larger block wall, and this is going to sit right up here on the back edge of these blocks. So that's why it was important for the front ones to sit out like that. And so we're going to take this all the way down to the bottom, like this. And we're just going to fill this in. And we'll go actually, yeah, I can't go straddle that halfway, so it'll have to look like that. And so that we don't have a gap up top, we got to put a row of these across here as well. Okay, and now when you look at it, there's your door. So that looks pretty good. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And my block work is nothing compared to Papa H's. The stuff that guy makes is just unbelievable. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't been there. 72 Pringle builds some nice stuff out of blocks too, as does Jetstream. Both of those guys have been doing some good stuff. Jetstream built a sail barge for Jabba out of blocks. It just looks really good. But I think Papa H is the undisputed master of block building. That guy's amazing. Alright, so there are our doors. And I like those. The last thing we'll build today is the cork board. So let's come over here and make sure I get this set up right. Alright, so for the cork board, this is going to sit in here. And we're going to actually want this on this side. I don't want it lined up with the wall. I want this sticking out just a little bit. And so this is going to sit down over here. And we're going to change the style on this block. And we are going to use the plastic wood 2. I'll set that to be my theme. This is what we're going to use for the frame for the cork board. And oops. Run a row of these across the bottom. And then we'll run these up across the sides. Like that. And then we'll grab the large block wall and flip this around. And we're going to put this on the back side of this. Like that. And I'm going to change the style on this. This is going to be the cardboard style. I'll set that to be my theme. There we go. And then we'll just fill in the back side. And actually can't take those other blocks out, so yeah, we'll have to use small blocks here. Kind of a bummer, but that's all you can do. So like that. Alright, so now when you look at it from this side, there's your cork board. Alright, one last little bit just to kind of finish this off. Let's go ahead and come back to the trim. We need to put the crown molding on the top of the room. So once again, we'll place these here like this. Set the theme to be the plastic 2. Match the white that everything else is using. And just like before, we did with the baseboards and we did with the top of the wainscoting, you're just going to put these right across here. And when you come to the corners, of course you're going to have this one piece that just isn't going to sit in there where it needs to. So you're going to have to connect that with a path as well. I've already done that, by the way, with the top of the wainscoting when I was last on here. But you're going to go ahead and run that all the way around the room and then use a path to snap those in place. And there's the top edge of the room. Well, I think that's a good stopping point for today. Next time I'll start building the furniture in the room. Until then, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, or at least found it interesting. Be sure to subscribe to my channel before you go if you haven't done that already, and I'll see you next time.